Welcome, everyone. There's a curious movement occurring beneath the surface of our world, a stirring that some may call a shift, a transformation of energy that we can feel, yet cannot quite put into words. Are you sensing it? You see, we've been taught to think of ourselves as separate, individual entities moving through a world that exists out there, beyond our grasp. But this very sense of separation, this egoic illusion, is precisely what this shift is calling us to question. It's not something happening to us. Life, at its core, is a flow, like water, like wind. And as with any current, it changes, it moves. When we resist this movement, when we cling to our old ideas and rigid identities, we experience discomfort. The tension, the anxiety, the unrest many of us feel now is not the energy shift itself, but our resistance to it. This shift is a reminder that the universe is in a constant state of flux. Nothing is permanent. The leaves fall, the tides turn, the stars themselves are born and die. Yet we humans try so desperately to make life static. We build our walls, create our routines, and hold tightly to who we think we are. But to live in such rigidity is to live in illusion. The energy shift happening now is the universe urging us to let go, to stop fighting against the current and instead flow with it. Because when we resist, we suffer. When we release, we expand. Many are feeling this shift in their own lives. Sudden changes, unexpected challenges, a sense of unease. But this is simply the process of awakening. It's life reminding you that you are not separate from it, but part of its great dance. The light and dark, the ebb and flow, the creation and destruction, these are not opposites, but partners. Duality is the rhythm of life, and this energy shift is the universe's way of drawing us back into harmony. Yet in this shift, we must also recognize something profound. The self you believe in, this fixed identity, is not as solid as you think. It's a mask, a role, a construct. And now the shift invites you to dissolve it, to let go of the need to control, the need to define yourself, and instead become fluid, be like water, adaptable, open, and free. This shift can feel unsettling, yes. The ground beneath us seems to be shifting, and the security we once clung to feels less certain. But you see, this is the point. Life has never been about security. It has always been about the embrace of uncertainty. And in this space of unknowing, we find the real adventure. This energy shift is an invitation to step into the unknown with open arms, trusting that life itself knows the way. But don't mistake this for an individual experience. The shift is not just happening within you, it is happening all around you. The collective consciousness of humanity is evolving, and each of us plays a role in this grand transformation. We are the universe becoming aware of itself, and now more than ever we are being called to wake up to this truth. And how do we navigate such a shift? By surrendering to the flow of life itself. We must trust in the intelligence that moves through all things. The same force that grows trees, shapes clouds, and forms galaxies is guiding you here and now. When you release the need for control and surrender to life's rhythm, you will find yourself in alignment with this energy. Finally, in the midst of all this change, remember the power of stillness. Stillness is not the absence of movement, but the presence of awareness. In silence, in presence, we discover the deeper rhythm of existence. Time is not something that moves linearly from one point to another. Rather, it is a conceptual framework we've constructed to make sense of the changes we observe. In truth, there is only ever this moment, the eternal now, and when you reside fully in this now, time seems to lose its hold over you. You are no longer shackled by regrets about the past or anxiety about the future. You are free to experience the richness of life as it is. The energy shift you are feeling is an awakening to this presence. It's an invitation to drop the mental chatter that pulls you into time-based thinking and to anchor yourself in the present, where everything is alive, dynamic, and full of potential. This is where life truly unfolds. Not in some distant future when things will be better, and not in the past where things may have gone wrong, but in the vibrant, living present. This awakening to presence is more than just mindfulness or being in the moment. It is a profound spiritual realization. When you are fully present, you come into direct contact with the essence of life itself. You begin to notice the subtle beauty in everything. The way light filters through the trees, the sound of the wind, the sensation of your breath moving in and out of your body. Every moment, no matter how ordinary, becomes extraordinary because you are truly here to experience it. But being present doesn't mean you stop planning for the future or reflecting on the past. It simply means that you no longer get lost in them. You use time as a tool rather than being ruled by it. You plan, but without obsessing. You reflect, but without being burdened. The present moment becomes your anchor, a place of stillness from which you can navigate life with clarity and peace. The energy shift is calling you to embrace this way of being. It's urging you to wake up from the dream of time, to recognize that you are not bound by the past or future. In the now, there is no need to rush, no need to achieve or become anything other than what you already are. The present moment contains everything you need, and when you tap into it, you experience life in its truest form. This awakening to presence also brings with it a sense of deep peace. When you are no longer preoccupied with the past or the future, you are free from the stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction that often come with time-bound thinking. In the now, there is no need for anything to be different than it is. You can simply be, accepting life as it unfolds, moment by moment. This is where true happiness lies, not in some imagined future, but in the pure presence of being alive in this very instant. The energy shift is here to guide you into this awakening. It's pulling you out of the endless loop of time and drawing you into the eternal now, where you can experience the fullness of life as it truly is. In this space, you are no longer defined by your past or driven by your future. You are simply present, awake, and alive in the moment. So heed the call of this shift. Let go of the illusion of time, even if just for a moment, and allow yourself to rest in the present. When you do, you'll discover that life is not something you need to chase. It's already here, waiting for you, in this eternal now. And in this now, all the peace, joy, and fulfillment you seek can be found. Individual entities with fixed identities. Our egos craft elaborate stories of who we are, what we want, and how the world should behave according to our personal needs. This sense of self, the ego, relies heavily on the idea of control. It tells us that to be happy, successful, or fulfilled, we must direct life according to its narrative. But as we enter this profound energy shift, this illusion of control is being challenged in ways we can no longer ignore. The ego, in its quest for certainty, wants to hold on, to grasp tightly to definitions and expectations of who we are. It says, I am this and I am not that, creating boundaries, preferences, and judgments that solidify the illusion of a fixed self. But the shift you are feeling now is pulling you towards something far more expansive, an understanding that this self you've identified with is not the whole picture. In fact, it's just a tiny fragment of a much larger, more fluid reality. This energy shift is a call to dissolve the ego's rigid boundaries. It's an invitation to see through the illusion that you are a static, unchanging being. The self is not fixed. It is ever-changing, just like the universe itself. And just as the universe flows and evolves, so too must you. To resist this flow, to cling to the ego's idea of control, only creates suffering, tension, and a sense of limitation. But when you release the need to control, you step into the natural flow of existence. Letting go of the ego doesn't mean losing your sense of self entirely. Rather, it's about recognizing that the self you've constructed, your personality, your achievements, your labels, is not the totality of who you are. The ego wants you to believe that these external markers define you, but in reality they are temporary and ever-changing. The deeper truth is that you are not a static identity. You are a dynamic process, a fluid consciousness moving with the rhythms of the universe. The dissolution of the ego is not something to fear. In fact, it's one of the most liberating experiences you can have. When you release the ego's narrative of control, you free yourself from the constant pressure to manage life, to make it conform to your desires. Instead, you begin to flow with life, becoming adaptable, open, and receptive to the natural unfolding of events. This shift moves you away from the need to manipulate outcomes and toward a place of surrender, trust, and harmony with the greater forces at play. Imagine trying to swim upstream against the current of a powerful river. The more you fight, the more exhausted you become, and yet you don't get any closer to where you want to go. This is the ego's approach. It fights, it struggles, and it resists the natural